Welcome to part 2 of Idle Chat on the Late Break Show. In part 1, if you haven't seen it already, Mr. Harry Metcalfe sits in the grubby brown chairs and shares with us his car life. In this part, we're going to have a walk around his garage and look at some vehicles that haven't been seen on his own channel. So come along, let's go. Now, Harry, I know we've already done our sort of sit-down chat, but this is what I wanted to show.
Look at it.
When I said I was coming over for a chat, I said, listen, I want to show the viewers a car that doesn't ever get seen on your channel.
This has never been in this garage before this moment.
Hasn't it?
No, no.
A dirty Fiat Panda 4x4.
Yeah.
Now, it's not yours.
No,
Strictly
this was
speaking.
a Christmas present to my wife in 2005. I never ever thought I was buying a car for, 16 years.
Yeah.
And here it is. It's still in daily use.
Yeah.
It came about because we'd bought a new Range Rover in 2002, L322, and it was a bit big. Producer said, I can't park this everywhere. And I thought, well, I wonder if we got, she'd always liked, well, I like Fiats as well.
I like these.
Yeah, and I just loved the design of it and how practical it was. And they were for nothing. 4x4, I just liked everything about it. And it was £7,500 and it arrived. And she loved it from the moment it arrived. It does the school run all the time, down the little lanes. And we'd called it the tender, because basically it's a tender to the Range Rover. But it actually...
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. And it's well used.
Oh, it is well used.
The dog obviously spends time in there.
Oh, everything. It just is turnkey. What I cannot get over is it's not looked after. It's just used.
Yes.
No rust. You will not find a spot of rust on this car anywhere. We've replaced batteries. It's got a diff mount. There's rubber bushes on the diff mount being a 4x4 with its independent rear suspension, and it ought to have some new set of those, but they're £700 and something. I think, and I haven't quite brought myself, and I should do it, but that's its only fault. So it's everything doesn't use oil, doesn't smoke, just works. And Fiat are brilliant at little cars.
They're kings of this.
Yeah.
And I know we'll talk about the 500 in a sec, because it's obviously parked nose to nose with the little 500. Yeah. But the Panda seems to live in the shadow of the modern 500, because the 500 looks sexy. Yeah. But this is actually a far more useful car. Yeah,
it is, and it rides very nicely. It's low geared. You think you're flying along, but you're into third at 30, because it was the slowest car on sale, but so cheap. And then that one. Well,
now this is you bought it for your wife.
Yes, it did. We just run around. She has a love affair with Fiat 500s. I think they're very novel.
Yeah.
I think the design is great, and you can't have it. It just cheers me every time I open the door and I see it sat there. Yeah. And I like it next to the Elan, because they almost look like normal size until you get. Sometimes I put the GR Yaris here and it looks enormous.
Does it?
Absolute monster. But Elan and Fiat together, just the packaging is terrific on it, and the purity of design. It's just like an early Panda, isn't it? I just think Fiat were masters at that stuff.
It's a character car.
Yeah. This one, I'm very embarrassed to say, it doesn't run at the moment. And I have no understanding why. Because it always started, no problem at all. And I have fuel, and I have sparks, I have compression, and I can't make it work.
Can't you?
I am, so I'm been looking at doing engines on it.
Yeah.
Because they're very cheap to do.
Yeah, they
are.
And
then I think, I'm really not into the electric restomod world, and because I think it sometimes destroys what the car is about. But that one, the engine is immaterial almost to it, and I could see perhaps doing that one. I don't know. Anyway,
I know what you mean about the electric restomod thing. We talked about it when we were resetting the cameras in the previous vid. Yeah. And we'll come over to it, to the Shadow, the Rolls. Because to me, that's one of those cars that would really suit an EV.
Yeah.
restomod?
I think Citroen DS is another one, but I think
DS.
someone's just done one because the engine is immature, almost gets in the way of the beauty of the DS.
Yeah.
And to be a silent DS drifting around and just going up and down on the hydraulics, that'd be pretty special.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's probably the.
Yeah.
Now you're not. We haven't got all of Harry's vehicles today.
No.
Harry's horseless carriages. I want to keep saying that. What are you missing? What are you missing?
Well, normally there's an Espada sitting there.
Oh yeah, the Espada, of course.
It always had a fueling issue, so it's gone off to have a bit of a thing on that. It's up at Ian Tyrrell's at the moment, and we might even be taking the heads off. I don't know. I need to catch up with him. So anyway, that's not here, which is really annoying.
Yeah.
And the Countach, I'm having the gearbox done on that at the moment.
I've seen the video.
Yeah. And then a friend dropped this off, I thought, for a few weeks. It's turned into months.
This has been here ages.
F40, yeah. And
you just have an F40 just lying around.
So without having the Countach, I've got space to keep this in here. So yeah, no rush. It is eye candy, you know. There's no getting away from a F40 eye candy.
I mean, I remember you said it earlier. The thing about this car is, it looks so flimsy and not particularly well finished, we say, because it was just a sort of race car for the road. Yeah, it really wasn't.
Oh, completely. Oh, this is a lovely one. His dad drove it. He bought it new, picked it up from the factory. I think and they just use it for wild rides and track days and stuff. And it's one family owned. There's no thought of selling. It's just to be enjoyed. That's that.
These are becoming.
They're heaven. They're better.
They're becoming my favourite Ferrari over time. You used to own my favourite Ferrari.
Oh, which one was that?
Was it 330 GT?
Oh, that one. Yeah, I did.
Were they as sexy and cool as I want them to be?
The thing they don't tell you about is the rollerball steering on it doesn't really have a lot of feel, and the live axle and kart springs at the back. And I didn't realise the 250 GTO has live axle and kart springs. No one mentions it.
And they're only worth 50 million quid.
And I drove the Espada, and it had a way better engine, an independent rear suspension, and just was better. Yeah. And that's why that 330 went and Lamborghini came. But a Testarossa is an ace car to use. Just as GT, I love the period. The engine note sounds is to die for. Yeah. Has probably the best air conditioning of any car in here. Just chills you, space. And I always they made 7,000 on them. That's normally a good sign, because lots of people wanted to own them because it was good. Yeah. And
it's supposed to be easy to drive.
There's no power steering on it, but it is dead easy. The steering is a delight on it. It's a real highlight. Quite a lot of them have magnolia or white leather interior, and they look tired within 5 years. This has got black, and it looks sort of all right. Yeah. But yeah, no, this is the one from Sahara, and I haven't had it resprayed, and I sometimes feel I ought, because it's a few stone chips.
Do you know what? I was just looking at that, but
yeah, it's got a bit of wear and tear on it, but I feel it should. It has a hell of a story to tell.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
You're in no rush. You could decide another year to.
I sort of keep it there. It's not, it doesn't rust. It's in good nick. It's got an engine out service due the next few weeks, just to do the belts, which is every 3 years. So
that engine is fascinating.
Yeah, it just drops out. You'd say an engine out, it's out within 2 hours. All suspension, it just drops out the frame, and that's how it's designed to come out. So it's a non-issue.
So it's a bit like a Beetle doing a clutch on a Beetle. It's easier to just take the lock out.
It just drops straight out. Yeah, no, it's designed for that. It actually is. And it comes out from underneath, and the 512 comes out the top, so it's a bit more awkward. But yeah, that's my pride of joy, though.
This is your latest purchase?
This is my latest purchase, and it is just fabulous. And I've had a number of 911s, and the trouble I have with 911s is there's so many of them, and you always think you've got the wrong one. Should I have the GT3 991, or should I have the 997? And it's just forever this maze of stuff. I've always liked turbos, generally. Just the experience of that big push, taking it off. It's so weird. Yeah. And it was the 930 turbo was the one I was utterly fascinated when Porsche came out with it. But they now feel today a bit underwhelming. Yeah. But this being a Sonderwunsch car. So this is a special wishes car from their special department with 935 heads on it, much bigger turbo, and it is a weapon grade.
I watched the video about it, and it felt like you sort of stumbled across this car and then kind of went, I have to own it.
Exactly that. I had no intention of buying it. It arrived at Hairpin Company. I thought, that's a bit odd. Is that aftermarket?
Yeah.
And drove it, and it's so unlike. I'd like the 80s supercar. Obviously, Countach Testarossa, and this is my other hero car.
Yeah.
My dilemma with this sort of stuff, Carrera GT, adore them, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
How am I going to use it? And that's my dilemma. And I think, you know, you look at F40s, a lot of them have had lots of owners because they don't know what to do with them once they've got them. And that's my thing, and I feel very privileged to like bikes because these are fantastic for that tango moment. Oh my God, it's just crazy. And it pushed off and we survived and we come back in one piece. Phew, it's all over. I can do that on the bikes for no money. And I've got a Honda CBX.
Can you show me this? Because it's not often you get to see a bike where the engine doesn't quite fit inside the frame. The
Kawasaki 1300 isn't the one I was really referring to. It's probably the Honda Next, but this is a monster of an engine. Everybody worships the 6-cylinder bikes. When they came out, when I was into bike, I couldn't comprehend the size and everything. And when this Kawasaki came out, Z1300, this was their answer to the CBX. They had to go one better because they'd come out with 6-cylinder motorbike Honda, but 1000cc and 105 horsepower. So they said, let's produce a 1300cc motorbike. I think it's 120 horsepower. And as soon as this arrived, this is a bit like Lotus Carton. The German market banned it. So they said it's too powerful for a motorbike. So a lot of them are 105, 110 horsepower or something. So they had restrictors in them.
The German market banned
They banned them. They're too powerful. What? Allegedly, I wouldn't know this, but you can just sit on the pin and you just wind it up. You have no idea what speed you're going.
85 mile an hour speedo.
Because it's an American market one. The Europeans get 130, 140 mile an hour. But it was just a period in superbikes when they went a bit nuts. But
6 exhausts.
Well, this Honda. So this is a really special bike for me. This was my poster bike. I never thought I'd really own one. But what I love about this, that's about £7,000 worth ish. And
in today's money. Yeah.
And this is probably 15, 18,000 because it's quite a nice example.
Yeah.
But they are the ultimate. This is it. This is Honda. They never did not a 6-cylinder motorbike. All the engine on show. There's no frame on it. They just bolt the top of the engine and then the back of the engine. There's no downstream because they wanted to show off all the 6 cylinders.
So you get your supercar, your sort of hypercar thrills with these.
With just that, yeah.
I know what I was going to ask you when we were sitting on the chairs.
Yeah.
By the way, very cool CD player.
Yeah.
In the garage.
Yeah.
Is that a B&O?
Yes, B&O.
Yeah.
Custom because it's white. They didn't produce them in white.
Oh.
So yeah, had that done.
I know what I was going to ask you was, tell me about your dad cars. When you became a parent, what were the sort of dad cars that you thought, right, I'm got to need a family vehicle that's going to do this and that and the other?
It's all a bit boring really because I just went Range Rover, but so
just from word go.
I got first Range Rover in 1990. I used to get ex-police Range Rovers. They were known. So I had Plod 1 and Plod 2. They were white, obviously, with holes in the roof, and because they were manual base, and so they made great farm trucks. So
did you go to the auctions and buy them?
Just used to buy. Well, I had a friend who auctions tipped me off. There was another one coming up. So I had a 3.8, 3.5 manual and then a 3.9 manual. So that's Plod 1, Plod 2. And then Patricia had twins. I thought I'd better get a grown-up Range Rover. So then I got one of the very last classics. I sent down to Overfinch and did all that. So this one is just come back and it's terrific.
The colour I love, and the finish is incredible. But, it's one of those cars, the XJC, where I'm slightly annoyed because the ship has sailed for me, and I had the opportunity to buy them when they were like £1,000.
Yeah, well, they got a bit rough, didn't they? And,
they did get rough.
But this is terrific now, and the engine is now running the camera probably won't like this, but I was going to lift the bonnet because it's quite nice under here.
Yeah, coming. Well, I saw the rebuild vid, and it's quite a thing.
It is pretty special. They don't normally look like this.
No, they don't. Bloody hell.
And it flies now. So it's now all running, and I've now been able to give it a bit of exercise. What I bought this one for, one, because someone else had done this manual conversion on it, 5-speed.
Which is cool.
And he had a place in the Lake District and he used to commute up, and he put it in for economy. And he put the longest diff in it ever. So you were doing 45 mile an hour per 1,000 RPM. So you go up there at 1,800 RPM. It's like mad.
Like high idling
all
the way
to get the latest, to make it do more MPG. So the first thing I had to do was put a sprint diff in it. So now it's much more accelerative. But he also put these, this is all not stock. So these are different inlet manifolds with little trumpets in here and double air going in, because they normally just get one of this pipe, and he's put an extra one on. So he's got bigger airbox, bigger throttle bodies, and breathes better on the top. So
I think you've single-handedly put the prices up of these.
Have I?
Yeah, I do worry about that, Harry.
Well,
because you have a habit of doing that.
I don't find the E-Type appealing. It's one of those cars that everybody says, oh, I only got an E-Type, oh, I love it, my E-Type.
Yeah.
It feels a bit vintage to me somehow, and the sort of pinch body, they don't look quite right. I really like the design of this one.
I agree.
And
I'd have this over an E-Type. Even though the E-Type is a beautiful looking car, I don't want to own one.
I don't want to own
I'd rather own, in fact, I don't know whether I should say this to you, but you've already owned one and you've sold it. You had an XJS, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
You had a nice yellow one.
I did, yeah.
I'd like to restomod an XJS because I don't think anybody's really doing it.
No. If I'm going to have a classic Jag, that's my classic Jag.
You've spent some money on this now.
Yeah, 60 odd, I suppose, 65.
So that's a keeper?
Well, my son worships it, so that was part of the reason for doing it.
Actually, I was going to ask you about like your children and are they... Charlie, your son's he's into cars?
Very much so.
Always has been?
No, and then suddenly something happened, and he's got a group of friends who are in it, and then he works with hairpin companies, so he's exposed to stuff, and he's driven everything. So
was there a time when, for years, when Daddy was into cars, but
a little bit uncool dad. Dads are just uncool at times, aren't they? So something I've no idea. Well, he's into bike. We always had little bikes around. Then we started doing bikes adventure stuff together. Yeah. I don't know.
Did he ever? He had a field car, didn't he?
Oh, he had a field car, Volvos. Yeah, I bought a brace. Thank God Google Maps has changed it now. But for years there was our rallycross track by the house. If you put up a post, what's that racetrack there? And it was just hidden away. Oh. And I got. We started out with a couple of Volvo 340s.
Volvo 340?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so then the kids learnt to drive, so they learnt to drive in those Volvos. And then I upgraded and I got a brace of Porsche 924s.
You got 924s?
I got 924.
For garden cars?
For garden cars. Because they were better than the Volvos. But yeah, these are two hero cars.
This is the most modern car that you've got, isn't it?
Yeah, 2018. Yeah. I've got a Lotus Emira on order, which I'm really looking forward to. So, yeah, that comes June, isn't it? So July it's coming.
You must have been impressed with it.
I've driven it now. Yeah, I'm really chuffed. I've got an order now. Yeah. I like Lotus.
You've had that a long time. That Lotus, haven't you?
That Elan, I had the race Elan, and the more competitive, if you like, I made it, the worse it got as a road car. Yeah. And I just wanted to make the most perfect road car, and I got that in '93. So I built that up from a box of bits, had it body painted, and bolted it all together. Yeah, it's lovely once you own stuff like that, because value is just it just doesn't exist. It's just it's a family heirloom. Oh, it's just there. Yeah. But this is it just still amuses me, the Project 8, that it's crazy on track, this car. And
I've never driven one on track.
Oh, they're unreal. It's just the confidence inspiring. It would slightly move it around. The best brakes. It's still my reference for braking. Both actually, Project 7, Project 8. Best brake feel and power. Yes, it's four-wheel drive, but I just love it's such a conundrum that this shape is GT3 quick on track. It's just, what? So yeah, that stays. And I just think this is a perfect recipe, a Project 7 Roadster. It's what I enjoy. Cut down, grunty. It's a British Cobra, and they're mad Jaguars of this. The F-Type, I think, is a fantastic thing.
The F-Type is phenomenal, and it's still quite cheap.
Yeah, two-wheel drive. One of the early V8Ss.
Yeah.
I just can't see you go wrong with one of those.
They're quick.
Yeah, proper quick.
It's an animal
simple.
of a car, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then a Shad.
The Shad ex-wedding spec.
Yeah, a full-on wedding. We collected it from someone who did weddings with it. And yeah, it's what you don't do. I bought it purely because it was cheap.
Yes. Was this like a post-wine eBay purchase?
It was a bit of an eBay. She did everything wrong, bless her. She spent quite a lot of money on it. Just had a brand new gearbox put in it, all new brake calipers and all the usual things of Rolls Royce.
Oh my gosh,
I looked at the number and thought, oh, 228, 22B, something, ooh, that's worth something. And it was sitting at 4,000. It was maturing at like 4 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. Just all the things you do wrong.
Oh.
And I thought, I'll have a go at that. And I put a bid of 4-1 and then watched the countdown go down. And oh God, I've got a Rolls Royce, and that was it.
Blimey.
Yeah, and then
Blimey.
and then I just think they're of an era, and I think I like the design. I've always liked the design, and that first farmer I worked on in the Wirral when I'd just done my A levels, and it was Tyson, chap who owned the farm with Tyson Construction, had a white Rolls Royce. So every day this white Rolls Royce used to turn up on the farm, and at one time we had a calf calved down in the field. It shouldn't have done, it should have farmed the field. And we went down to pick up the calf. He came down his Rolls Royce, and I put a hour-old calf in the boot of his Rolls Royce to drive back to the farm.
In the boot?
In a boot of a white Rolls Royce. And at that point, it was a new white Rolls Royce.
I was going to say.
I'm torn, because I've had all the body done up to this point.
Yeah.
And I should have resprayed. It just has some flaky bits on the door, and it annoys me I didn't do it. But hey, it's a solid Rolls Royce.
You could get the above the waistline done with murals.
Well, I did look at doing...
Harry's Garage murals.
I did look at doing an art car on it.
You totally should.
And I'm torn, because I really like the look of it in white and how it looks, but I am very torn. I've loved those BMW art cars, and I've had one or two people, I've not commissioned them, but mentioned to them, would you like to do this?
Yeah.
So watch this space. I might do it in a few
Bloody
years.
hell, Harry, do it. Please do it. It'd be brilliant.
Yeah.
It'd be brilliant.
I ought to just mention actually some of the art. If someone's wondering what all the art is on the wall, I have a collection of Pirelli calendars, and this is the first year 64 and the right and the left, and then 70s, and then it gave up until the 80s. But that's what's going on
Mind if I have a quick
wall.
closer look?
Yeah, so they're fine down there. Others have had to have post-it notes added to the outside cover.
I doubted you've censored them.
Yeah, because of YouTube, it's not done. Fashion photography.
I can see there's more skin creeping in now.
My 84 is one of my favourite years. They had a big break, and they stopped doing them, but then came back. They launched the P7 and then did the tar treads on the 84.
And it's a tear off.
Yeah, it is tear off.
So it's different.
Yeah.
What I like about your taste in motorbikes is it's specific.
Yes. I really enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've done the big engine kind of 70s stuff, which is what probably you were into before cars, but this what do you call them? Dakar bikes, adventure bikes.
Yeah, they're adventure bikes. Yeah, that's purely, it's in the name. That's what we use them for.
Yeah.
We go places that are in the wilderness. These three bikes came back yesterday from Morocco, because I was doing that Sand Raiders 2022. Yeah. And this is Moroccan dust. This is desert. This is Sahara dust. This is the
me. Photo.
Yeah,
this is where it began.
Yeah, there we are. Age 12, so that's my second bike. That's my 27 quid dot from cousin Roger. Roger. Yeah, there we are with that.
I love that.
Yeah, and then there was just 70 acres of woodland to muck about in. Steep as well, proper steep stuff. And then these are just the Paris Dakar for me is one of the world's greatest events. Massive distance, crazy endurance, and it became famous because it was so hard and the attrition was so high. People used to die on the event, and it was just a fascination. And it's odd because it actually spawned some great bikes because they need to be ultra reliable, big tanks, good range, good visibility, lowish weight for the size, and so that's how the BMW GS, the adventure bike, all sort of opened up.
Born. You were showing me the navigation on this.
This one is probably the craziest. This is
your best Dakar e-bike?
I suppose. I really like the Kajiva, but this Honda Africa is known as a marathon. Yeah,
you've got
carbon
your
helmet.
phone number on your helmet.
Yeah, you have to have that as a carbon helmet, so you feel the weight of that. So yeah, you're navigating back in 80s in Dakar using this. So at 128.05 kilometres, you're doing something. Tracks go 310 degrees, so you're on the compass here, following your compass track. They were doing sometimes 1,000 kilometres a day.
A day.
And if you have a tank, if you have a critical amount of fuel on board, and you go wrong in your road book, you're stuffed. You're out of the rally, and that's why quite a few of the early competitors couldn't finish the rally. They had to press the beacon and say I'm out because they just ran out of fuel. So if you make a wrong bearing in that thing, you might have 100 kilometre more to do, and if you don't have the fuel capacity, you're out the rally. So they always had this crazy amount of fuel on board.
So what does this carry?
This has 42 litres in the front and 18 around the back, so a rear filler there. And so 60 litres, so what's that, 12 gallons-ish, isn't it? 13 gallons of fuel.
That's like, what, a 911?
Yeah,
a modern
it's not
911.
a modern car would take 60 litres, wouldn't it, I suppose?
Yeah.
Seeing they were men of steel, they are off the scale.
Yeah.
The guys who race those bikes, they are nutcases.
You were talking about riding it, like loose on things like sand. It's a bit like, I think, like P1 powerboat racing people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's the sea and it's constantly moving.
So it's
you
lumpy
can't
as
plot your
anything.
route really.
No.
And you've got one person doing the throttle, one person steering, and no one's strapped in.
No.
And if it all goes Pete Tong, you're just fired out.
Yeah.
I always get asked all the time what the future of cars is, and enthusiast cars, and where's it all going to go, and do we do electric this, do we do piston that? What's your view? Is the future paring cars back a bit? Having skinnier tyres?
I think it's madness that we're trying to electrify things like Range Rover. That's a 2.5 ton vehicle to start with. That's the wrong start point for an electric. We need to shrink down that Fiat Panda. We're addicted to energy. The human race is addicted to energy, and because energy became readily available fuel, we've gone a bit nuts on it. Yeah. If we restrict the amount of energy, then clever engineers will rethink how we use that energy. And I think mobility, I suppose I come from a bike background, but electric scooters and things, or e-bikes, I cannot understand in London why they're bike lanes, they should be electric lanes. Yeah, I think it will change, and I think electrification, I actually like electric cars for just the quietness and the hushness and the way they go down the road. Yeah. I really enjoy that. I'm yet to be convinced that you can make electric sports car for all the emotion and the pleasures I get from these will be replaced with a pure electric sports car. Yeah. Don't think so.
But personally. If that Panda was electric, that
could go electric, I suppose. EV. I don't care, plug in, it's quiet, cheap to run. I don't understand how we're converting all to electric while we haven't a clue how to make clean energy. So we're plugging it into a grid that's quite often 50-60% gas supplied. No, I think just invest in clean energy. So I've got 27 kilowatts of solar arriving here in the next few weeks. That will put me completely off the grid.
And you've got a windmill, not wind.
Turbine. That does 6. Had that. Yeah, and we've got heat pumps in all the house. So I'm off grid by the end of this year, not using any of their dirty power that's supplied by the grid.
Well, this concludes the tour of your car collection, Harry. Thanks ever so much for letting us come and have a look.
It's great for you to come down. Really enjoyed it.
One day I will have a space as nice as this, and I admire your restraint, leaving some of these areas open. But anyway, if you haven't already looked at Harry's Garage on YouTube, you might want to have a look at that. I'll put a link in the description below. If you haven't watched part 1, where I sit with Harry in the chairs and talk about his life in vehicles, have a look at that. why not become a Patreon, and you'll get early access to videos like this through my Patreon service, and I'll put a link for that in the description. Anyway, thank you very much for watching.